All right, welcome to the final week of Java. This is my last video, actually, and this is the last homework assignment. And I thought that it would be nice just once in this course to do something open-ended and creative. And so this particular homework assignment, I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do, but I'll give you a few ideas. So as I've written, this week you need to turn in a single 10-minute video that involves coding in Java, which I know is vague, but it's the last week and I want you to choose something that you actually feel is valuable. And that kind of depends on where you feel your strengths and weaknesses lie and on what you think is fun and interesting. But some ideas might be to solve a new coding problem using Code Wars or LeetCode. You could add on new features to your text adventure as we were doing a few weeks ago. Or you could try to port more of your text adventure to the web using Spring MVC, kind of a continuation of last week. You could do any one of these. You could do multiple of them if you want. I think that if you still feel like you're struggling with the basics of Java, you're probably going to get more out of working on problems. Or if you're wanting to go get a job in the near future, then you should be prepping for interviews, which means solving a lot of problems on Code Wars so that you can do that exact same thing in an interview, which can be kind of nerve-wracking, but it does become easier with practice. But if you're not feeling like you need to go out and interview for jobs and you just want to have fun, then I think adding on to your text adventure or starting a totally new project would be totally fair game for this week. What I'll show you in this video is porting more of my text adventure to the web using Spring MVC, just to kind of tidy up that small arc of the course. Just as a quick big picture moment here, just want to point out that we spent a couple of weeks, modules 1 and 2 were essentially reviews of Java 1. They were my way to test whether you had kind of absorbed and synthesized all of the material from Java 1. So I asked you to show me that in modules 1 and 2. And then we started solving Code Wars problems, starting with pretty easy ones and getting up to ones that were actually pretty difficult. The intermediate plus problems involved the Stream API and trees, and advanced data structure. And those I gave you a second week on to kind of dive a little bit deeper. And then we spent a few weeks working on the text adventure project, and finally showing how you could take some of those data structures from the text adventure project, port them over to the web, and build a web interface for your text adventure. Each of these was designed to kind of help you see a different aspect of personal growth as a programmer, which involves algorithmic problems, which you need to know in order to pass an interview, usually, and just generally will make you a better coder is to solve these kind of what I call them is like programming in the small, just 10 or 12, 20 lines. That's usually as long as the solution is on Code Wars, but the process of finding out what those lines are, that problem-solving process, takes a long time, and you get a lot of beneficial practice out of trying to find solutions to those kinds of problems. But then there's programming in the large, which is what programmers usually do, and what we usually get paid to do is to write a lot more than just 10, 12, 20 line algorithmic solutions to small problems. We usually write large pieces of software that solve big problems. And so we spent some number of weeks trying to make a program that at least required more than one file in order to manage it well. And so that's what the text adventure was about. And then last week and this week, we're talking about web programming. Not that that's an advanced topic in Java per se, but it's good to just be familiar with the fact that Java is more than just a language. It's also an ecosystem, and Spring MVC, the library or framework that we used last week, is part of that ecosystem. People use Java to build new things that you as a Java programmer can utilize, like the Stream API. That's one example. Spring MVC is another. Java's been around for a long time, and people have built lots and lots of libraries, lots of frameworks that do lots of interesting things, and you can adopt those into your tool set. You'll never learn about them in a class because there's simply too much out there to cover in any class. We've just touched upon it a little bit in this one. And so this final video, I guess if you take nothing else away from it, please take away the fact that you're about to finish your very last Java course. So any Java that you learn from now on is going to have to be self-driven. You're going to have to go out to the internet and learn these things on your own. And I think you can do it. And just to make that kind of authentic, I'll admit to you that Spring MVC is not a this is not a web framework that I have used before this class, although I am a web programmer. But the specifics of this particular Spring framework are new to me. And for this video, I haven't prepped for it. I've left the code in exactly the same state it was last week. This is the greeting endpoint showing the throne room from My Text Adventure. And I figured I would just try to make the links work. Maybe port over the inventory system that I built. Mostly this is about showing you my learning process, though, because that I think is more valuable than any particular piece of Java knowledge, is for you to understand that, learning is just a matter of giving yourself a challenging task and then sticking with it and doing a lot of Googling. So I'm going to do that now. The challenging task is to try to get these exits to work, and we'll see how long it takes. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get warmed up here, which is I'm going to change some like low-hanging fruit. So this says /greeting, but I think I'm going to change it to /room, maybe. Just makes more sense. Now, if I just type in /room, it doesn't work. It gives me a 404. But I'm guessing I can change this right here. And save, and then maybe refresh. The server had to reboot there. Yeah, so that worked. Okay, so that's quite a bit nicer. Now, I guess I'll locate the code where the exits are getting rendered, which is right here. So we render the exit by cobbling together this big content string with new lines in between, and the exit appended onto the number, the index +1 of that exit. So I think what I'd like to do is just refactor this a little bit. Maybe I'll take this part right here and make it into a function or a method. So I'll call this exit link. And the code that I took was exits get I. I think what I'd like to do is actually. That doesn't make sense. Hold on. Let me back up there. The reason I want to make a method here is that it's feeling to me ugly to start cluttering up this line with more A tags or more HTML tags. I could do that. In fact, maybe I will just to get started here. So that makes them into links. They don't go anywhere yet. But this growing complexity on this line, I wanted to nip it in the bud by making a method. But I'm realizing that in order to extract this into a method, I need to have access to the exits themselves, which is a local variable right here. So I suppose I could say public string exit link and then take in a list of rooms and maybe an index. And then I could return something like this. Move that down here. And then up here, I could call that, say exit link, pass in exits and I. And I suppose I do like that better because that kind of finalizes this line, so the complexity of this line is not going to grow. And if I want to make a more complicated A tag, I can do that down here in this method, which I think I'd prefer. So I'll work down here in this method now. And we need to figure out where we're gonna send the user when they click on it. And I believe last time we got working something like this. Room 2. Yeah, so if I say query string room 2, then that 2 gets stored in this variable room. It gets parsed as an int, and that gets used as a get into the rooms list. So it would appear that I need to say something like rooms, or sorry, room equals, and then plug in a number. Like I'll just stick 4 right there, or 3, which will simulate what I want. So I could click this. They all will end up going to the courtyard, which is room 3. But I'm realizing a problem, which is I don't know if inside of this method I actually have the information I need to put the appropriate index right here. Because it can't be I. Let's say I put I right there. Let's try that. So that's, if you look at the very bottom of my screen, you can see it says localhost 8080/room/room or /room $room equals 0. And this one says $room equals 1. But those are the indexes of these rooms in the list of exits. Whereas the room parameter at the end, like room equals 2, that gets interpreted as an index into the full list of rooms. So if I'm not mistaken, if I try to press this one, it's not going to take me, actually that one probably does take me to the throne room. But this one takes me to the drawbridge, even though it says secret throne room chamber. So How do we solve that problem? It's like exits I. We need to know the position of that room in the full list of rooms. Now, adventure is a global variable. So I guess I can use, instead of I right here, let me make a variable and say, say room index. And then our job is just to figure out how do we set room index correctly. And I'm thinking something like we use adventure.getRooms and then index of, and let's say exits get I. It seems reasonable. One thing that's bugging me is it says exits get I twice. So how about we set that up right here. And then I could just say exit in both of those places. All right, that was just a quick side quest to clean up some duplication. But the question is, does this room index actually work? It kind of is looking like it does, because if you look at the bottom of my screen, that says room equals 4. That one says, ooh, that one says room equals -1. That can't be right. I guess that's because, let's go take a look at adventure graph here. I guess that's because not all the rooms get placed in the adventure graph. Is that true? I have to refresh my memory. So adventure graph is a list of rooms, and in game setup, let's see, we set up a new adventure graph. And then graph add room. So we add the forest, lake, and mountain. But over here in castle setup, no, we do add all of the rooms to the graph. Okay. So they should all be there, including secret throne room chamber, secret room. Oh, no. Look at that secret room I failed to add to the adventure graph. So that's just a bug on my part, I guess. So graph add room, secret room. Okay. And now if I refresh, yeah, that fixed it. Yeah. So this first one, if you look at the link down at the bottom, it's saying $room equals 4. This one is saying $room equals 5. So, okay, so the logic over here is actually correct. We can calculate the room index based on the index of the exit in the full list of rooms, provided we've remembered to actually add all of the rooms to the adventure graph. Let's make sure that clicking works. Yep, that takes me to the secret throne room chamber. That one takes me to the door to the throne room. That takes me to the courtyard, drawbridge, moat, mountain, mountain. Yes, so I'm able to navigate the graph by clicking links, which was basically my goal. One thing that kind of bugs me is, I don't know if this bugs you, but I think instead of taking the full list of rooms and an I, only to just find the ith element in the list of exits, how about we just calculate the exit beforehand? We'll do it here. And then we'll render the exit link for that exit. And we'll change this to take a room exit. That was just a tiny minor refactoring. I just moved a little bit of logic from inside of exit link to right before the call to exit link, because I think that's where it belongs. Is that going to change what the code does? No, not at all. It's all going to do exactly the same thing. But it feels slightly more organized that way, and trying to keep my code organized and logical is something that I do as I'm going along. As things bother me, as I experience small bits of friction, I try to fix them. So just me doing some of that, some of that housekeeping. Okay, so now what? I guess I could try rendering the items. So let me go take a look at Text Adventure just to see how the items were getting rendered previously. Current room, get items, print out the items, etc. Otherwise print no items or loop over things. So same idea. I'm going to take all of that and go back to greeting controller, which I'm tempted to refactor into room controller. So let me do that. Actually, it's a really convenient way to rename is you right click, go to refactor, click rename, say room controller, and that should rename it here and everywhere else in the project. So nothing should break. So let's just make sure nothing breaks. Yeah, it's looking good. Okay. And now that we've renamed, we can paste this in and get the items. And then I'm just going to start using the same patterns as before. So content plus equals items, content plus equals new line. And then if there are no items, then we would want to say content plus equals no items here. And then we loop over the items and we say content plus equals inventory size. You know, I think I'm just going to render the items themselves without giving them all unique numbers. Just want to simplify that logic. So each item has its own number. And and then let's put a new line as well, just so that it ends up looking nicer. And let's see what that gives us. Yeah, no items here. Let's render the items before the exits. Yep, so items, no items here, and then exits needs a new line. So let's stick a new line right there. Did I not save or something? New line, exits. There we go. Okay, yes, just a fluke, I guess. Okay, items, no items here. Exits mountain, and let's go back to our main room, standing in an old dusty castle, and it has my items from when I added the items feature, crown and magic ring. And then I think I'd like to be able to pick those up. But I can see some places for some housekeeping, which is that this is getting pretty long. So how about let's housekeep all this item stuff into a method called public string show room items. And looks like it's missing current room. Yeah, let's pass in current room. Oh, and then let's have it, let's just say let's say string content equals empty string, and then we'll return content. And then that will let us say content plus equals show room items of the current room. And then Oh, and then new line. New line should be global, I guess. Probably should be a constant, like capital, all caps new line or something like that. All right, that still runs. Okay, let me do the same treatment here for exits. So it'd be content plus equals show exits, or show room exits of the current room. Public string show room exits of room current room. And then same thing, let's initialize content to be empty, return content right there. And then refresh. Uh-oh. Refresh. Show room exits is undefined for the type room controller. Oh. Show room exits instead of exists. There we go. Okay. All right. So just again, just a little bit of code housekeeping. So now this main method right here, still called greeting for some reason. Let's call this. I guess we could just call this show room. I don't think it matters what we call it because the get mapping is what says, you know, how it gets called based on the URL. So we should be able to call it whatever we want. But the point is we're trying to keep this from getting too gross and complicated. And right now it's doing pretty well. So we have room items with a new line. This appears maybe like the title. I guess we could pull that into its own method if we wanted to, but it's really not that bad. So let's just say show room title, and then show room items, and then show room exits. That's kind of the flow of the file, or of this method. So now I want to get items to kind of work, like so you can pick them up. And so I know that means I need to make these items be links. Don't know exactly what I want to do with the link yet or where it needs to go, but it's going to look something like this. So we already made an exit link earlier. Let's make an item link. This will not take an exit though. It will take an item. And yeah, we don't yet know. I haven't yet decided what this href will actually do. So let's just say item dot get name or toString. I assume that it has a toString method. Let's see. Oh, no items there. Go back to the throne room. Hey. Oh, I'm not rendering item link, so let's call item link on items get I. So instead of rendering that item itself, we render the link of that item. Okay, so they became links. That's always good. They don't go anywhere very interesting, but they are links. So now we have to decide, yeah, how do we get it so that you can actually pick up an item? I know that what we will need, I'll just add the things I know we need, is we're gonna need a player. So we added a player earlier, and when you pick up an item, it does this. It says, so it take whatever the item is, the current room, it gets removed, and then the inventory, it gets added to. And inventory is main character get inventory. So that's kind of a lot. So let me split screen that along with the room controller. And I'm thinking, okay, I think the easiest thing might just be to create an inventory here in room controller. Let me just let's ignore the fact that we have a player class hanging around, because I think I added that last time just as a demonstration. And I think I showed last time that the simplest thing, if you just want to track items in a player inventory, is just to have an inventory. It's just a list of items. So let's start there, because it's already tricky enough. I think you can do Control-Shift-O to add missing imports. That's a pretty common Eclipse hotkey. So if something's underlined in red and you need to import it, Control-Shift-O will do that. So we have an inventory. We have a place we can put the items. Now, when someone clicks the item link, it needs to trigger some Java code that adds to that inventory. So I think one thing I will start with is to add a brand new get mapping. But instead of saying show room, let's say pickup item. And instead of /room, we'll say /pickup. And now the request parameter, let's say item. And instead of string room, let's say string item. And so here's where we would do the logic of adding to the inventory. But I don't even know if this is going to work. So let's just do something way simpler than that. Let's just basically copy the minimal amount of code to render hello world for this pickup item. Because then at least I can test that this exit link, that this item link, if I say pick up, sends me to a new page that says hello world. Yeah, okay, it did. Nice. Okay. So it sends me to /pickup. It says hello world. So I at least know that clicking this link for the item executes this get mapping pickup item. So that's a step. Let's have it say what the item is that we're picking up, which is gonna go right here. Let's just say item equals, and then I just use the item's name. I think that'd be fine. And then I can, oops, not item link. That would be recursion. If I accidentally said item link inside of item link, infinite loop. That was a incorrect tab complete there. I'm just gonna say item, which reminds me, I could just say item right here. You don't actually have to say toString, because that is what happens when you put an object concatenated onto a string, is the toString method gets called. So that'll simplify things a little bit. Let's see what that ends up looking like. Yeah, and if you see at the bottom it says pickup item equals crown. Pickup item equals magic ring. So we're passing along in the URL the thing that we might want to pick up. So that's at least one step closer. It's one step closer. I really am figuring this out as I go. I'm not, it's not like I know exactly what to do here. But yeah, I guess what would be the next tiny step? I mean, I could say something like you picked up, and then say item right there. Okay, now it at least says you picked up magic ring. That's kind of nice. But it doesn't actually pick it up yet. So here we would want to get a reference to that item itself, take it out of the room's inventory, the current room's inventory, and put it into here, the player inventory. It's just made me realize there's a problem, which is that current room is a local variable over in this show room method. But now I need, inside of pickup item, I need to be able to access the room. So let's move that one up so that it's global. Show room can still change what room we're currently in. That's actually still good. But now we'd want to say current room. Let's see if we can get the item. Let's say item to pick up equals current room dot get items. And then we want to find the item that has the name stored right here. Let's call that item name. Since this is the actual item. So we'll say get items. We could loop over it, but it would be snazzier if we could just use a clever stream API thing. So we could turn it into a stream. And then I think we could filter. I'm gonna take a stab at this, but if I get it wrong, I'll just look it up. So we can filter based on the item having the item's toString equaling the item name. That doesn't compile. Okay. Oh, okay, no, this is working. This is working because now it's just giving me a type mismatch. Cannot convert from stream item to item. Yeah, okay, so we filter, and then I want to take just the first one. Can I say find first? Oh, and now that returns an optional item. Can I just say to array? And then take the first one. Apparently not. Oh, cannot convert from object to item. Okay, no, now we're close though, right? Okay, that might have worked. Does that make sense? So, current room, get all the items, turn it into a string, filter the string. Sorry, filter the stream by the items whose toString equals the name of the item we're looking for. Then turn that into an array and take the first element. This is a bit of complexity that I would normally move maybe into current room. So I could just say like get item by name and not have to worry about all this right here. But let's see if this is even working first before we worry about doing housekeeping. So I should be able to say item to pick up right here. And if that actually prints out something meaningful, then that means that this piece of logic actually worked. Because item to pick up wouldn't be defined if it hadn't gotten through all of this stream stuff. So let's see. Yep, did not work. You know what? We're dealing with strings here, so let's do string equals instead of double equals. That is one thing that might be throwing it off. Oh, but that's not the problem. Let me just refresh, make sure that we're not getting in. Oh, none of that worked. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so always good to just refresh and try again sometimes before assuming that you have a bug. Okay, so that is working. That is working, but this is a mess. I don't like this. Here's what I want to be able to say. Let me write my wish list code here. Item to pick up equals current room get item by name, item name. I want that to just work. And I want all of this to be inside of there. So I'm going to take that part, delete all of that. I'm going to go over to room. And somewhere close to all of my item code, I'm going to say public item get item by name, string name. And then I'm going to return all this stuff, but I'm going to call get items. And then what? I probably need to cast that. Yes. Yeah, I think that will work. And then the ugly stream filter to array sub 0, all of that gets to be hidden. Oh, let me say name right here. So that over in room controller, I can just say this really nice line of code, get item by name. And let's just make sure that still works. It does not work. Let's see. Oh no, it does work. Okay. All right, yeah, it's working. Does it not work when I refresh? No, that also works too. Okay. Yeah, so sometimes I'm getting errors, but I think they're probably because the server hasn't reloaded. This current room is null. Oh, it seems to be working though. Okay. Cool. Wait, why is this red? Item to pick up cannot be resolved to a variable. I think this must be a fluke. Right? Because it's right there. Item to pick. Oh, no, it's not right there. That was a misspelling. So that raises the question of why was stuff even working a moment ago? Let me just make sure it's taking my changes. Yeah, you picked up crown. Okay. Okay, it is working. Okay, so that was another quick side quest just to clean up the code, which is always good. Gotta be reducing complexity as you go along, otherwise things get out of hand. But I think the time has come to actually do the real work. So we have the item itself. We can stick it into the inventory. That would be the easy thing. We can say inventory dot add item to pick up. And that will add it to our inventory, but will not remove it from the room. So let's actually render the inventory. So I'll say something like show player items. Now, show player items doesn't really need to take the current room in as a parameter. In fact, now that current room is a global variable, none of them do. I don't even need it in these two. So I'm going to break one of my rules, which is to make two changes at once. I'm still in the middle of doing this. And I could also remove these two parameters. That is a recipe for accidentally forgetting stuff, and I don't usually do it, but I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to go make this method, and I'm going to delete these two. Let's see if I can keep it all in my brain while I'm going. Okay, and now I have to make public string show player items, I think I called it. Yeah, show player items. And here we will just, do something pretty much like this, but for not the current room, but the inventory. which is here. But inventory is already a list of items, so we don't even really need that. We can just say inventory right here. And right there. Okay, so saying no items here, let's say inventory. And we'll say no items in inventory. And we also need a new line right after that. Arguably, that could just go into the method itself. Maybe we should do that. We'll have showroom exits, show player items, and show room items all be followed by a new line so that we don't have to do it out here. And actually, if we're doing that, then these comments are superfluous. It doesn't make sense to say content plus equals show player items and then also be like, hey, we're showing the player items. So these comments are kind of silly now. I'm just going to get rid of those because we've simplified the code enough that it's just not necessary. Maybe this is justified because showing the room's title is a little bit... Oh, it's also the description, though. So it's not even a correct comment. I'm going to get rid of the comment. Unnecessary. Okay. So let's quick clean up of the code. Let's see how the code output is looking. Yeah, inventory, no items in inventory, etc. Now, if I click the crown and then go back and then refresh, yeah, look, I now have a crown. So we're getting there. This is slowly approaching a playable game. I'm just gonna kind of play whack-a-mole with bugs and kind of flaws. Right now, if we click this, we'd want it to like drop it. But for now, let's just not implement that. Let's say that when we show the player item, we're not going to do an item link. We're just going to show the item itself. Okay, we pick up the crown, we go back, we refresh, and now we have a crown in our inventory, which is nice. Pick up the magic ring, go back, refresh, and we have a magic ring. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. But I guess the first thing I don't really like is that I have to refresh. And the second thing I don't really like is that the items stay in the room. You can't fix two things at once. You shouldn't. So I'll do the easy one, which is to take the item out of the room. Because I think that's just adding one extra line right here. Let's say room dot remove item to pick up. Oh, and it's current room, not room. All right. So let's try that. Notice every time I make a change to the code and save, it's going to clear out the inventory because it will reboot the whole web server, reinitialize all of these variables, and so the inventory gets cleared out, which is actually kind of nice, I think. Makes testing a little bit easier. So crown, and then back, refresh, and that's what we want to see. Inventory now has the crown, and the items in the room does not. Okay, so I think maybe the one extra thing to finish here is that kind of refreshing bit, which is not super nice. Sometimes I like to do things like the way that like if I can think of a way to do it, I like to like try to do it that way. But then if I feel like that way is a little bit messy, then I'll look up a better way. So one clever, I don't know if it's clever or silly, but one clever thing would be to, on this page, have it redirect you back to to the throne room, or to slash room. I think that would work. Let me just check something here. If I go to door to throne room, that should set the current room to be the throne room, meaning that if I just go to room, No, it didn't work. Because we have a default value of 0. I really want to be able to, if we pick up, like if we pick something up, we end up here in this like new page, this pickup page, but we don't know the room you just came from. So either we need to be able to redirect back to an arbitrary URL like room and have that keep track of the room that you just came from, or the room you're currently in terms of the game state. Or when we pick it up, we need to like put something extra up in the URL to say what the room is to return to. Like room to go back to equals 4 or something along those lines, but that kind of feels like a mess. Yeah, I'm a little on the fence here about how to do it. I think it would just be really nice if you go to /room and it just remembers which one you were in. Let's try that. Let's get rid of this default value, which I think might break things to start with. Yes. So that gives us an error because it says cannot parse null string, because it comes to here and tries to parse int on room. So I think what we will say instead is if room is null, and current room is null, meaning like it's the first time you've ever gone to /room, then we'll do this. We'll say current room equals adventure get rooms get 0. So we just get the 0th room. Else maybe else if room is not null, then we'll parse int room and set current room to that. Else, I think we just do nothing, because that would mean room is null, but current room is not null. I think. I don't know, let's find out if that works. Okay, so going here works. Then we go to the throne room. And then the question is, if I go to /room, yeah, okay, perfect. So now /room is whatever the last room I was in. So I can go to courtyard, yeah, that's room 3, but at any point, if I just go to /room, I'm also there. So what that means is, we could say something like, okay, so you picked up the item, then we could add on like a new line and say, or just give the user a button that says a tag, and maybe go back, or just okay, because you picked up an item. Okay, now you want to go back and keep playing the game. So we could say href equals /room, because now we know /room keeps track of the last room you were in. So you picked up a crown. Okay, yeah, now we're back at the throne room, and there's no crown. So this is good. This is actually perfect. Secret throne room chamber. Oh, we got trapped. There's no exits. All right, fine. Magic ring. Ooh, yeah, so that, I guess going back Doesn't quite work because we're not really in that room. If that made sense. Because we're really stuck in the secret throne room chamber. I can get back and see the page. I can see this, but I can't actually pick up the crown or magic ring because I'm not really in the throne room. I just used the back button to see what was on this page. If I actually refresh, I'm still in the secret throne room chamber. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe we don't want people to be able to cheat. Probably should show a better error message, but I'm not going to fix that right now. I'm not even convinced it's a bug. But what I did there is just added some white space, saved, and then refreshed, and I was back in the throne room. So if you ever get stuck in your own game, you can just refresh your web server, and you'll be unstuck. Let's try that again. Uh-oh. Oh, I think maybe that was because I refreshed. All right, let me try this. Added white space. Back to throne room. Magic ring. Okay, I think it is working. Pick up the crown. Yeah. I guess maybe I ran into... Let me see if I can reproduce that problem. Because running into an error every now and then, I'm just not sure why it's happening. I think it was... I hit crown. And then maybe I refreshed the web server. And then said okay. No, that's fine. Okay, maybe it was I'm on this page. Then I refresh the web server. Then I try to pick up an item. Okay, that causes a problem. So if you're on this page, you refresh the server, what it does is it clears out everything, so current room is empty. So now if you try to pick up an item before refreshing, it tries to pick up an item and remove it from a room that doesn't have it anymore. So that you end up with an error. But the fix is just to make sure that whenever you refresh the web server, you refresh this page. That should reinitialize the current room, and then you can start picking things up. I think this is fine. I think it's perfectly okay for this early prototype. Just click OK and end up back in the room. So I'm not going to fix that. I do really want to be able to drop items, though, and we're so close. So let's just do that. Show player items. There's an item link that we can render. We can use to render a link for that item. Problem is that they are pickup links. If you see at the bottom, it says /pickup item equals crown. So I guess what I'll do is add a second parameter. Maybe I guess I could just say Boolean pickup. Because it's either a pickup or a drop. Or I could pass in a string. And instead of saying pickup right there, I can say path. I said path because that's the technical name for what comes after the slash, as I'm sure you've learned in previous classes. And then I can say item link, inventory I, drop right there. And here I can say item link, items I, pickup. That's one way to do it. Lets me reuse this nice method, which is rendering a lot of stuff that I don't want to have to worry about, like this a tag, href nonsense, and item, query string. I just wanted control over that one part of it. So added an extra parameter there, which seems reasonable. So yeah, so this is still a pickup link. And now that, if you see at the bottom, is a /drop link, which does nothing, but I think we're very close. Let's just make another get mapping for drop. We'll say drop item. And we don't want to say current room get item by name. We actually want to say inventory. And we don't have a get item by name on inventory, so we're going to have to use that stream stuff again. So that's a good time to remember that we actually don't have to be using an inventory here. We can actually just have a player, because we added that last time, main character player. And that would be a fantastic class to add a get item by name onto. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to say main character player. Anywhere I'm accessing the inventory, I now need to say main character dot get inventory. So a little bit of refactoring just to get this to work. Say dot get inventory. I probably should have stored that into a variable rather than trying to do this in 3 different places in this one method. But whatever, I'm already committed to it, so I'm just going to press forward. So now I could say main character get item by name, and then I can go to the room class and grab that nice method and add that over to my player. Now, arguably I should actually not repeat myself here, but find some other place to put this method along with the one in room. Like, probably what I should do, like the, best design would be to have an inventory class that wraps up this list item inventory, or list of items. And so a player would basically have an inventory. And so would rooms would have an inventory. And then that would give me a nice class to put methods like get item by name. That would be probably the right way to do it, but sometimes you're in the middle of adding a bunch of features. You can't just do everything the right way because it leads to having to make, you have to make change B before you can make change A, but now you have to make change C before you can make change B, and now you have to make change D before you can make change C, and it just gets too confusing to pull it off. So doing things right is good, but you don't have to do all of the right things all at once. So right now, I'm not going to do that, changing list items to be inventory. I'm just going to duplicate this. So I have a get item by name. It's just going to do the same stream stuff that I'm doing over in room. Just copied it. Yes, there is a little duplication, but that's okay. So now I will say get item by name. Why did that not work? Oh, because I need a string. Okay. So then it finds the item to drop from the main character. And we'll say inventory, actually main character dot get inventory dot remove item to drop, and then current room will be add item to drop. And we'll say you dropped, and then we'll give them the okay to head back to the current room. I think that should do it. Okay, so here we are in the throne room, no items in the inventory. Let's pick up the crown. Okay, now we have a crown. Let's drop a crown. You drop the crown. Okay, hey, yeah, and there it is, right back in the throne room, which already means we have a pretty cool mechanic. Like, we can go to the courtyard and, oh no, wait, where's my items? Hold on. Is there a bug here? I wanted to be able to drop something in a different place. All right, adding some white space, refreshing. Let's pick up a crown. Okay. Now let's go to the door to throne room. Okay, still have it. Courtyard, still have it. Okay, again, I think I ran into an issue where it refreshed and it cleared something because it seems to be working now. So in the courtyard, can I drop a crown? I dropped a crown. Yes, courtyard now has a crown. Exit to drawbridge, moat. I don't think I can even... I think my game is not set up very well. So I can't go back to see that it's still there. Okay, let me set up a better test. Yeah. Get rid of all that white space. Save. Refresh. In the throne room. I'm going to take the crown. And then I'm going to head out of the castle, into the courtyard, into the drawbridge, into the moat. Forest, lake, mountain, moat. Okay, forest, lake, mountain, moat. All right, so we have a loop here. So let me drop this here in the moat. Okay, and then forest, lake, mountain, and then will the crown still be there? Yes, it is still there. Excellent. Okay, that's it. That's all I wanted to accomplish for today, was to port over that set of features. I'll point out that using a GET right here is probably not the right HTTP request to use, but it does work. Just want to point it out because I am a web programmer and some of this, you know, these details bother me. But this is not a class on web programming. This is just a class on Java, and so this is consider this a whirlwind tour of Spring MVC and how you might start to use the web as a way to build a user interface on top of a set of data structures like these that implement a text-based adventure game. All right. I've really enjoyed your videos this quarter. I've been very, very impressed, especially with your text adventure games. Some of you have added some really, really cool features, like awesome stuff. I encourage you to share it in Discord and enjoy not having a final in this class. What else? Oh, feel free to reach out to me anytime, always. My door is always open. You don't have to be a current student in my classes, and you don't have to be a current student at OC. You're allowed to reach out to me on Discord or by email anytime you want. Yeah, I've really, really enjoyed teaching you this quarter. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you around.